Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to make the crossed half double crochet stitch. I use this stitch in my For the Love of Texture afghan as well as in the Bellamy baby blanket, and it just gives it this really beautiful, almost cable-like texture. So a couple things you're going to need: stitch markers. You're going to need a hook, any size will do, but for this tutorial I'm using a 6mm. And you're also going to need some yarn. I'm just using a medium 4 worsted weight yarn. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to chain an odd number. So for this sample, I've chained 17. You can crochet any number that you want. And for the first row, we are going to make just half double crochets, and that's going to set the stage for our crossed half double crochets to come. So to do this, we're going to yarn over and we're going to skip over this first chain here, and we're going to go into the second chain from the hook. So this is the first chain, this is the second chain. Going into that second chain under the top loop, insert your hook, yarn over, and you're going to draw up a loop. So we have 3 loops on our hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That makes a half double crochet, and that is our first stitch. So what I want you guys to do is mark this first stitch going under the front and back loops of the stitch. You're going to mark it with either a stitch marker or a safety pin. Okay, now going into the next chain, underneath that top loop, we're going to make another half double crochet. And we're going to do this in each chain across, working 1 half double crochet in each chain. So by the end of this, you should have an even number. So for me, I chained 17, so I'm going to have a total of 16 half double crochets. So you're going to have 1 less half double crochet than you chained. I hope that makes sense. Okay guys, we've just worked our last half double crochet into our final chain. So we're going to take our second stitch marker and we're going to mark this stitch going under the front and the back loops. Okay, so the reason that we're doing this in our first row is just to make sure that we now know where our first stitch is and where our last stitch is. This is because when we're working our crossed half double crochet, sometimes we can lose stitches and sometimes we can gain stitches, but this way our stitch count will remain the same and we'll know exactly where to place our stitches. So just give everything a quick count. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Just to make sure that you have the correct stitch count before you get started, you need to have an even number in order for this to work. Okay guys, it's time to start row 2, which is our crossed half double crochet row. So we're going to turn our work and we're just going to chain 1. Now we're going to remove our stitch marker, and now we are going to go into that stitch where it was marked. So insert your hook under both the front and back loops, yarn over, and draw up a loop. We should have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And that just makes a regular half double crochet. We are now going to mark this stitch with our stitch marker because this is now the first stitch of row 2. Okay, and for the crossed half double crochet rows, we always want to start with a half double crochet and we want to end with a half double crochet because that way we have nice straight edges. Okay, now we're going to start our crossed half double crochet. So we're going to skip over this next stitch right here and we're going to go into that 3rd stitch. So right here. So going under both the front and back loops again, we're just going to make a half double crochet like normal. Okay, so now we have one stitch that we've skipped over. Okay, now we're going to yarn over and we are going to kind of cross over. So we're going to go kind of around this stitch and we're going to pop into this space from behind. So go behind and we're going to insert our hook into that stitch. And I know it looks weird, but we've actually gone under the front and the back loops. It's a little bit backwards. Now we're going to yarn over. We're going to pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook. So we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that just crosses them over like that. Okay, we're going to try that a couple more times. So for our next pair, we're going to skip over this first stitch and we're going to go into our second stitch. And under both loops, we're going to make a half double crochet like normal. Now we're going to yarn over and we're going to go into that skip stitch, but we're going to come in from behind. So go into that gap there and then pop your hook into that stitch from behind, and we've gone under both loops here. We're going to yarn over, pull through the stitch, so we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that makes a crossed half double crochet pair. Okay, skip over the first stitch, going into that second stitch, we're going to make a half double crochet. We're going to yarn over and we're going to go into the gap of our skip stitch. We're going to pop into that first stitch from behind, going under the front and back loops. Yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And we're going to do that all the way across until our last stitch. Alright guys, we're at our last stitch and this is marked with our stitch marker, and this is what our crossed half double crochets are looking like. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so going into that last stitch, we're going to remove our stitch marker. We're going to go under both loops and we're going to make a half double crochet, and we're going to mark that with our stitch marker. And so this is what row 2 is looking like. To start row 3, we're going to turn our work and we're going to chain 1. Now remove your stitch marker and we're going to go into that stitch again under both loops, and we're going to make our first half double crochet of the row and mark that with your stitch marker. Okay, now sometimes it's hard to see our stitches, but if you kind of tilt your work so that you're looking at the top of the row, you can kind of see it. So right here we have this first stitch, the front and back loops, and this one is really tight. Then over here we have our second stitch, which is a little bit looser, and you can see the front and back loops. So again guys, we always have those 2 pairs of stitches. One is really tight, one is really loose. Alright, so we're going to skip over the first stitch, which is the tighter one, and we're going to go underneath both loops, of the looser one, the second stitch, and we're just going to make a half double crochet like normal. Okay, and then we're going to start our cross. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to pop into the gap here of the gap or the space here, and we're going to pop our hook from behind into that stitch. See how we've gone under both loops? We're going to yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, we now have our next cross. So we have the tight and the loose stitch. So we're going to skip over that first tight stitch. We're going to go into the second loose stitch, and we're going to make a half double crochet. Then we're going to yarn over, go into that space, and pop our hook into that first skip stitch from behind, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, we're just going to continue that across. So skip over the first stitch, go into the second stitch, and then pop your hook into the skip stitch from behind and make a half double crochet. So by the end of this row, we should have the same number of pairs that we had in row 2. Okay guys, we're at our last stitch marked with our stitch marker, so we're just going to remove it and we're going to make a half double crochet into this stitch going under both loops, and we're going to mark that with our stitch marker. So this is what row 3 is looking like. Alright guys, for row 4 I'm going to show you how to just work half double crochets across, because that's normally what we do in my patterns. So we're going to chain 1 for row 4, we're going to remove our stitch marker, and we're going to make a half double crochet into that first stitch and mark it with your stitch marker. Now again guys, it's really easy to accidentally skip stitches just because some are tight, some are loose. So if it helps you, just tilt your work so that you're looking at the top and you can see the loops and the stitches clearly. So we're going to go into the next stitch, which is that tighter one, and we're going to make a half double crochet. We're going to go into the next stitch, which is the looser one, make a half double crochet, and we're going to repeat this all the way across. So we're going to work 1 half double crochet into each stitch. Alright, we're at our last stitch guys, where our stitch marker is, so just remove that and go under both loops, and we're going to make our final half double crochet. And again, we should have the same number of stitches that we started with, so we should have a total, for me, a total of 16 half double crochets. And so this is what it looks like on the back side, and this is what it looks like on the right side. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and if you're working on the For the Love of Texture Afghan or the Bellamy baby blanket, I really hope it helps you as you crochet, and I hope you enjoy making your blankets. But if you're just kind of learning some stitches and just wanting to add these to your projects, I also hope that you enjoy this stitch. It's definitely it's a fun one, it's full of texture, and it will just make any project beautiful. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.